creativity goes beyond a pencil and a paintbrush. Hello, creative people, and welcome to I Am Creative. My name is Hollis Citron, and we are so happy that you have chosen to spend your time with us. So what are we doing here? We are really diving into this word creativity and what it means. In all of the conversations that I have had, nobody has ever defined creativity as drawing or painting. People have defined creativity as your soul's essence, that magic spark, how you show up in the world. What my true mission is to really expand this definition and allow people to be able to see themselves in it. Because when people see themselves in this definition, when they've never been told that they fit inside of it, they stand up straighter. They feel like they have something to offer the world, and basically are happier humans. So these conversations are structured on 3 questions. 1, how do you define creativity? 2, how do you incorporate it into your life? And 3, why do you think that it's important? So let's just dive right in. So my inspiring guest for today is Shannon Hernandez. She is all about that joy in life and biz. She is specifically known around the globe for the Content Personality Wheel and is the founder of Joyful Business Revolution, which is a marketing strategy and consultancy company that works with coaches, consultants, and service-based owners. She's been called the queen of organic marketing, growing nearly $1 million year brand with 0 ad spend and high profitability. Oh my gosh, Shannon.
It's been fun.
Cannot wait to have this conversation. Oh my gosh, welcome to the space.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here. So before we dive into the official questions, I would love to get a fun fact from you about yourself.
Fun fact is I'm currently training for the CBS show Survivor. I don't know if they're going to call me back, but damn, my body's getting in good shape.
So first of all, high five to you. That is incredible. So tell everybody a little bit. So you've always loved this show, right? Obviously, this is why you're doing this.
Yeah. So I find this show so fascinating on so many levels. One, it's been on air for 20 plus years. That right there is just like, there's still a demand for it, right? So my messaging and marketing and psychology of messaging and marketing brain loves to think how does a show continue on with the same premise? They're in season 46 or 47, right? Because they record 2 a year and they have the demand year after year after year. So that part is fascinating to me because in my own business, I hope that's the case, right? Year after year, the demand grows. But what I'm most interested about with this show is the dynamics of team and how, they call it now, they didn't then, but they're messaging around it now. If you watch earlier, the most recent episodes or seasons is, the greatest social experiment of all time. We take all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds and plop them together and see how they work together to achieve goals. And to me, that is fascinating. That is the part that fascinates me as someone who also has interest in conscious leadership and leading with integrity and those kinds of things. So when I did my pitch to them, I said very clearly, I'm most interested, one, as someone that identifies as non-binary, how taking my gender out of it would affect my alliances. And 2, can I be 100% truthful and not blindside people and still get to the end? Because there's a lot of blindsiding that has to go on. So part of my strategy is, how do I just be me as I always am and just be like, no, that sucks. Like, we're not doing that. We're going to do something different. How far could I get just by being truthful, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's the whole kind of story about my motivation for going to Survivor.
How far can I get with being truthful?
Yep.
which is all that you're about. I mean, this is like some words, and I can't wait to dive into this it's really authenticity. That's really what you're about.
Yep.
It's okay, everybody. Okay. So let's start here. Before we go, thank you so much for sharing that. So inspiring on so many levels. So let's get to the first official question, which is, Shannon, how do you define creativity?
Can I tell you how it shifted over the last 3 years?
Yes, please.
Okay. Because I've had a big creative journey. So I used to define creativity as only art, and I didn't see myself as artistic, so I didn't see myself as creative. And this went on for 42 years.
Big chunk of life. So yeah.
So I'm 46 now, y'all. So 4 years later, I define creativity as anything that feeds your soul. And my kitchen is a creative lab. I've been commissioned for my first 2 art pieces, which I still can't believe. Like, this just happened when I was in south of France. It was crazy. I drew all the illustrations, coloring book pages for my book called Practical Joy. But it took me, I actually hired a creativity coach because I had so many blocks around this like 5 years ago. And once we dug in, I realized there were 2 things that had kept me stuck. Am I allowed to tell the story?
Please. My gosh. This is all conversation. We're sitting around the table having a conversation.
Yeah. So when I was 10, I was sitting in the art classroom, and I had a male art teacher, and I had on white pants, and I got my period.
Oh.
And no one had even talked to me yet in my home. I mean, it was so young back then for somebody to get a period at the age 10. And my birthday's in April, so it had to have happened like somewhere between April and June before I came out that year. So I was early 10, right? I was an early 10. And I just remember sitting there, and the whole class, and I was like, I cried because I was scared. I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
But I was so embarrassed of how was I going to get up and get to my next class.
Yeah.
So I waited for everyone to leave. I was also embarrassed it was a male teacher because I wasn't prepared to even know what was going on. Waited for everyone to leave. And I said, I have a problem. There's blood all over this chair, and my pants are white. And he handled it so well. He went and got my teacher, my classroom teacher. And she came down, and I don't remember anything of what happened then, but I remember he got help to help me deal with whatever was going on. And nobody had to know what had happened, right? So years later, I'm like, I put the pieces together. Why do I have this thing about art? And I think that was it. That was it. Like, had that happened in the math classroom, maybe it would have been math, right? Right. I don't know, but that was like my block to I'm not doing art. I cannot do art. And it took a lot of coaching and therapy to like really uncover that. So that happened 5 years ago. I was 41. Then I had a hysterectomy when I was 42 or 43. And little did I know, because once again, hindsight's 2020. As soon as all of that stuff was out of me, like I had battled fibroids, I had battled periods that were 20 and 22 days long of heavy bleeding for years and years. I had battled cysts on my ovaries. And finally, I was just like, you know what? I'm not having kids. I'm not doing this shit anymore. And so I got a hysterectomy. And it wasn't until I was healed from that hysterectomy, like, the cut and all that stuff, the healing, that my entire creativity blew open.
Whoa.
And that was 3 years ago. And that is why in 3 years, I have created the amount of things, not just in my art studio, but with the coaching to uncover the block and the therapy to get through whatever that was, and then the hysterectomy and all that stuff coming out of my creative center where things are born, my creativity has skyrocketed. And these are the two pivotal moments, I think, that have helped redefine that for me.
Taking a breath, everybody. Thank you so much for sharing that personal story. It's so, so, so powerful. And thank you for, I don't know if the word bravery is right, but it's for really looking into it, for really diving in and getting to the core issue. We often spend life just grazing the surface and being like, oh yeah, I'm just not good at it. Yeah, I mean, thank you for saying the whole thing about how you used to find art. That's why this podcast exists. Like, that's why, after all I've done for, teaching art for 30 years and having my company, I Am Creative, all of this, that it is about expanding this definition so people can see themselves in it. So here, the beauty of everything you're saying of going back and finding that moment, having the courage to find that moment, because it so often is about these things, these seeds that happen, these events, these experiences, these words that are said, these experiences that we have. Then we attach to that. We attach a meaning to it.
Yeah. And Hollis, I hear what you're saying about going back to the moment. I think that's one part of courage. And it takes a lot of courage. And to do the healing work takes courage. For me, the courage is still, even this week, I had artist dates where you go and get inspired by.
Yeah.
There was something I really wanted to go to Sunday in New York City. And it was this floral / fashion art creation thing happening at Hudson Yards. And I woke up on Sunday and I said to myself, are you going to keep distracting yourself from creating art by continuing to just go look at art? Like, maybe this is the weekend you actually create something. So the courage for me is the courage to still, the discipline for me, the practice and creativity for me is the courage to not get sidetracked by all the beautiful art and lovely things I could go do. But if I'm an artist and I want to claim that for myself, I have to create the art. Right. And I think there's a healthy balance of two. I think you need both, but I was too much on looking at all the art and not enough on creating the art. So I said to my spouse, I think I had a stern conversation with myself, and today I'm going to create art. I'm not going to consume art. I need to sit down and create. And I did. And I made a beautiful piece that I'm super excited about.
So I'm going to want to hear about the piece that you created and what mediums you use. But I just want to also acknowledge, thank you for that distinction between the taking in art and the actual creating art. I think it is an important distinction because, yes, we need it to fill ourselves up, to get inspired, to see what's around us, but it's definitely true. There is a distraction where it's like, well, I got to look at more. I got to do my research. I have to be inspired. I have to, instead of just doing.
Yeah. And I think the other side of that, so consuming art versus creating art, if it's not that trap I'm in, the other trap is, oh, I don't have the right supplies,
right?
Which is just bullshit. Like whatever supplies I have is good enough. Like I need to use all the supplies I have before I ever buy anything else. Like are we willing to call bullshit on ourselves? That's like at the end of the day.
Are we willing to call bullshit?
Yeah.
So let's go back to, so what medium? What did you create?
So I'm taking a patterns course. I wish I had it down here, but it's upstairs. I'm taking a patterns course. I can get you a picture. You can attach it to the show notes, perhaps.
Okay, perfect.
And the course is all about a 2-page spread. On one page is some sort of pattern, but it bleeds over onto the other page. So one page is full color, the other page is white. And the reason I actually went back to this weekend is I have been in a slump with color and, you know, all the things like, oh, I don't know what to make. I don't have any idea. Like, this is my mojo. Like, what colors? I don't have the right color. I'm like, for fuck's sake. So I got out my color wheel, which is a beautiful tool that has sat too long on the back of my shelf. And I said, okay, I want to work with 3 colors. Spun the little dial, let it land on the 3 colors. I'm going to do simple patterns of shapes and leaves because they're easy. Circles and leaves. I love circles and leaves. Like, you can do a lot with circles and leaves, and I don't have to put a lot of thought behind it. But what I am most proud about of this piece is I looked at the color wheel. I had great colors to work with that I didn't have to think about, but I had to try and create the color because I have paints, but not the exact color. So that didn't take me long because I understand color now. Like, I've taken some lessons on it, but the piece that I created is absolutely beautiful. And it's a blue purple, a kind of dark red orange, more orange red, and then like a maroon and some lime green thrown in there. Yeah, so I ended up with 4 colors, and it was so fun, and it was just relaxing. But I proved to myself once again, like, this to me is all about coming back to my practice. It was not a day to go consume, and it was not a day to say I didn't have what I needed. It was a day to create, and whatever showed up. It doesn't need to be a masterpiece, right? Like,
it's a process. And the word I'm hearing in my head is exploration. You're willing to explore. You're willing to, I really appreciate you saying it. Everybody, I think this is important to hear, is it's the baby steps. So it's not that you have to figure everything out. You went to your color wheel. You picked 3 colors. So you're like, okay, this takes this thinking out of it. I'm working with 3 colors. These are the 3 colors I'm working with. Okay, so now if I don't have them, now I have to recreate them. So I know how to do that. So, but it's not starting from a blank canvas. It's not starting from like zero. And I think that's really important for people to hear. And no matter what they do, is to have the basics. You don't have to create everything on your own. Take the basics and then grow it from there. And it's just so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much. And the word that you said, that I heard you say, was fun.
It was fun. It was fun. And I'm waiting for the day where when I sit here and think, yay, I'm going to create tomorrow, I'll think it's fun now, because I still have this block. Like, I have to work through that block every single time. And for me, it's not a block of, you know, creating a masterpiece, because my creativity coach and I focused on process over product, which was super helpful for me.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is old stories. If I don't have any ideas, I have like Pinterest board millions of ideas. I don't have the time. Lie, right? You need 15 minutes. Like, you don't have to have huge blocks. So I still have to do like all this mindset stuff to actually get a piece done, but I'm committed to doing it. And then once I get in the flow, I'm good. I can get lost there for hours. It's just all these objections leading up to it. Like, is this normal? Like, is this a normal thing that artists battle? Because I'm waiting for it not to be my normal.
Yes, it is kind of a constant battle going on, and it's societal, and it's, you know, our own shit, and it's our own, it's everything, because creating is vulnerability. People are seeing you when you're really doing it. So there's that part where it's like, okay, I'm going to create, and then you create something, but you know, within you, people might resonate with it. That's the outward thing. Your people are like, oh, that's so pretty, or that really worked for me, but does it work for you? It feels different as the artist. If you're going to really dive in and be vulnerable and put it out there, not everybody's going to like it. And then there's a lot of things. There's a lot of mental games that go on with that. Am I worthy enough? Do I have enough to say? Am I Just all that kind of stuff.
I think being a messaging and marketing coach or consultant, I've worked through so much of that, but this is what I have to help my clients do, right? Is they're like, oh my God, what if nobody answers? Well, nobody answers. How many times have I put something out? Nobody's answered. Nobody's signed up, right? So it's interesting that I'm struggling with this on the art side. My clients are struggling with it on the content side. And on the content side, I'm just like prolific. I put all kinds of stuff out, and this is why we don't have a problem with clients. Mm-hmm. I wonder what my art life would look like if I just put all kinds of stuff out and didn't care, right?
Yes. So you know what? Let's talk about this. Let's get into, because I know this is a big thing for people. And you've been on a journey to, I guess, give us just, we're going to dive in and talk about it. But have you always been in marketing?
No, I used to be a teacher.
Tell us a little bit about that, what you taught.
Yeah. So I taught 8th grade in Spanish Harlem, reading and writing. But when I look back on it, and I was a teacher for 15 years, and I was also a professor at Brooklyn College before I started this business. When I look back on it now, right, like hindsight, I would say like we have to have that reflective practice. Teaching in Spanish Harlem, 8th graders who had a lot of other things going on other than what I needed to teach them, taught me about messaging and marketing. Because I realized very early on, if I didn't learn to tell a good story, if I didn't learn to get them on board with whatever we were doing, right, making them the hero, I was going to walk out of there bedraggled every single day because they could run circles in me. And I had 30 to 40 people in a class, right? So good Lord, I learned a lot about capturing attention, creating a story, being engaging, creating lesson plans that they got lost in, right? This is why even in my trainings, people all over the world sign up for marketing trainings. You're not sitting there watching a PowerPoint by any means. You're getting a workshop and a worksheet, and we're working through it together, right?
Yeah.
But that has been the biggest thing from my teaching that I've carried over to this business that I think has made us have the success we have. That, and we actually care about people. Let's not forget that part, right? Like people first, relationships first.
That just made me laugh. Sorry. Like an outside, like we actually care about people. You're not just a number. We're not just boarding you to be like, come join. And then we don't give a crap about you.
We care so much about our people, and they know it before they buy. And I think that's why they buy when they're ready to buy. We care about our people, and we care about their success. And we know that the people we work with, coaches, consultants, and experts, they have a gift, and our gifts change the world. And so, that's what I did before marketing and messaging 12 years ago.
And yes, everything that you said with what you did is what you do. I mean, you don't lose these parts of everything that we do leads into something else, even though you might not see the direct correlation. It builds the skills. And like you said, I mean, I completely understand the whole thing with capturing the attention, being engaging, telling a good story. In the art room, it'd be like, I have about 2 minutes, and really 1 minute. It's like to get the attention, to then want them to listen more, to then be engaged. It's kind of like, it's really a short period of time. And it's really with adults too, but adults may not be throwing crayons. Kids could. So it really is that carryover. So beautiful and so important. So tell us a little bit more about this organic marketing and what that is. People hear the term, most people get it, but I'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah. So organic marketing is marketing that you have not paid for. So you're not buying ads, you're not buying email lists, you're not buying. people's information or using ads to get their information. And I didn't know, when you're inside the jar and you can't see your own label.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't know because I didn't know that people actually can't get their marketing working. Like that to me, I just didn't understand it until a mentor's like, do you know that this is like most people? Like, this is your gift. Like that was Shannon, this is your gift. Like you can call yourself a business coach. I think you need to go to marketing strategist. I think you need to go to messaging strategist because there's a million business coaches and their shit ain't working either. Their marketing, right? You've got a gift. So it took somebody being on the outside of my jar to read my label.
Yes.
Which is why we need mentors and coaches and people that can see what we don't see in ourselves because we're so close to it. So my gift to the world is messaging that is clear. Your people know what you offer. They know what to expect when they join your program or your retreat or your class or whatever that is, because people aren't going to buy until then, right? So specificity and clarity and messaging is huge. And then once you get your messaging, you need a good marketing strategy that's fun. Otherwise, you're not going to do it, right? In fact, we built an entire global brand on the mantra, if it ain't joyful, we ain't doing that shit.
Love it.
So organic is organic social, sending emails, showing up and knowing how to follow up. It's very relationship driven marketing. It's that messaging that's so rooted in truth and clarity. And what we said at the top of the hour is just truth and vulnerability that people are like, wow, that is a real human on the other side of that thing, that post, that email. And I either like her or him or I don't. Either one's fine. So you got to be able to have both for your marketing and your messaging to be working. So how do we put out words and ideas and communication that turns into clients? That's organic marketing.
So something that I saw on your website, which I love, where it said, just caught my attention right away, is creating content killing the joy of being a business owner. So this is everything that we're talking about. This is what you do, because generally people, if they're starting a business, are passionate about what they do. But it's that whole piece of, okay, content.
Yep. Yeah. And I like to tell people, sometimes they don't like to hear it, but I will say it because it's the truth. No matter if you're an art coach, a speaker on trauma, I don't care. You can tell me whatever it is you want to tell me. You better be a marketer first if you want to have clients to work with. And there's a lot of people who will fight me on that, and that's fine. Those aren't my people. My people are the people who understand what you say and do in your content is going to drive sales. And so when you work on your content through a lens of joy, through a lens of better, not more, that's huge, right? Through a lens of specificity so people can see themselves in your content or not, that's when your business will grow. And it was so eye-opening to me when this person said, people don't understand this. I didn't get it because somehow it's my gift. I got it, right? I got it. It didn't matter if I was in the classroom, I got it. If I was in the college professor, I got it. As a business owner, I got it, but I was too close to it. Yeah. And super grateful for the mentors who remind me this is not natural to 99% of the people. They need you. That's what keeps me going every day.
It's so funny because when we're good at something, that's the whole thing is we're like, well, isn't everybody? That's so simple. Absolutely. Everybody can do that. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? And then it does take other people to be like, not everybody else can do that. Yeah. And shut the hell up and either use your gift for good, if that's what resonates with you, or just understand that you're good at it.
Yeah. And then the other thing, nearly $1 million, that's been an interesting journey because once again, just last year, when we hit nearly $1 million, it took a mentor to say to me, you realize this isn't normal, right? I'm like, what do you mean it's not normal?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, most people can't even make like 30 to 40,000 a year in their business. You're doing double that in a month. And I was like, that's not normal. So I've put these blinders on, but I've done it on purpose, right? Because I don't want to know what everyone else is doing and telling everyone they should be doing. I only know, like, I can't get distracted. I know what I'm here to do.
Yes.
And because I choose to put on blinders and stay in my lane and show up and serve my people and put my message out, not get concerned with other things, it does take mentors to say to me, hey, you know, this is not normal. Like, maybe you should talk about this. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, just what you said is, I know what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows what they're here to do.
Yep.
So, well, and it's a gift.
It's a gift. If you don't know what you're here to do, I suggest everyone pause and figure that part out. Because once you figure that part out, the rest will be easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't say no problems. I said easy. Or I should have said easier, right? Yeah. So in March, what's interesting is, you may have read this post, Hollis, but how do you end 2023? I mean, 2022 at nearly $1 million. And in March, I was on LinkedIn looking for a job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wrote a post about that.
That was a very good post because it was very relatable.
Yeah. And, you know, it wasn't that I had spent all my money, because that's not me. I had plenty of money. We're very profitable. We don't spend money on ads. I got a very small team of 4 people. The money was in the bank, but it was the purpose. So just a little backstory for everyone. As a messaging and marketing strategist, ChatGPT hit the scene big time in quarter one of 2023. And everyone was distracted. And it was hard to sell messaging because ChatGPT could just do it for you. Well, people have now learned, you fast forward, we're now in October recording this. People have learned it ain't a magic pill. And it's not authentic, because it's like crowdsourcing everyone else's voice. It's not what it was cracked up to be. But I didn't have the energy to fight the battle of, doing the education. So I had to just let the newness die off and kind of slow my roll a little in business, but it was hard. And I lost my purpose because I wasn't teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that to say, if you can't answer, I'm here to do this, it's my gift to the world, everything gets hard, including 3 months after our biggest year in revenue, I was looking for a job. And it wasn't because I was out of money, it's because I was out of purpose. I had forgotten what my purpose was. And the more I looked at jobs, the more I realized I don't want to do any of this shit. Like, there is nothing here that I want to do. The only thing I might have considered is working in a floral shop. Just for fun. But that probably wouldn't have lasted very long. Like, it was a temporary Band-Aid, right? Like, flowers don't talk to you. You don't got to think too much. And I can arrange pretty things that are colorful. It felt really nourishing.
These words are popping out at me. So first, again, thank you for that. It's forgetting you were lost, feeling lost because of the purpose. And this is so often what people go through.
Yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen, you hearing this, it's kind of, that's where we feel the anxiety, the sadness, the depression, because we lose our purpose. So here, and I really appreciate you saying that it wasn't about the money. In this case, you had the money.
Yep.
But it's that whole thing of, you hear money doesn't buy happiness and all of this. Like, in this, I see that direct correlation. Because it wasn't about the money. It was about wanting something to fill you up.
Absolutely.
And here we were on the societal thing. Everybody was like the distraction, another word. People were distracted. And then you're tired. You don't want a heavy energy to fight the battle. So it's picking and choosing your battles.
Yep.
And I guess you knew it was going to come around.
Well, there were times I didn't know. And I'd lay in bed or go for the 10th walk for the day, because what else did I have to do? And I was just like, something's got to give. Part of me was like, something's got to give eventually. Like, people are going to come back to their senses and realize this isn't just, you can't just use words that are regurgitated by an AI tool and think it's going to like change your business.
Right.
The other part of me was like, God, because we still hear it, if this is only the beginning, will I have a career?
Right.
Will I have a job? So there was that. Now I can say now, thank God we're recording this today.
Yeah.
Yesterday we closed $40,000 in sales from a workshop on messaging.
Good job. Yeah.
Right. And I woke up this morning and I said to my spouse, Maria, I said, I'm so grateful I didn't quit in March. And it's not because of the money. Like, there was time this business was about the money because I didn't have money. Now it's not about the money. It's about the reach and the impact and how many people I know coming through that door that said yes to us yesterday after that workshop. How many people say, I can't wait to get my messaging and marketing working. Right. So, so glad I didn't give up.
I'm so glad you didn't give up. And it's the ebbs and the flows and really understanding that they exist and it's real, and everybody, it's a journey. Like, this is a life journey. It's not always perfect. It's not always, we make mistakes. Lots of stuff happens along the way. So, this is the real conversations, and where I see it, it's about connection. So when people speak, as you're saying, one of the words that you use on in your messaging and on your website and everything is to revolutionize. In revolutionizing marketing, in making something new, and really in this values and your personality. What is your personality? Again, the authenticity, like all of this, it just all goes back to who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you? And on a very quick note, it's kind of like I had a situation where I was doing a lesson and I was back in the classroom and I was nervous because they said there could be 35 people in there and they're looking at me and I'm like, Hollis, what the hell are you worried about? I'm like, this is fun. I'm like, have fun. Yeah. You've been doing this for 30 years. You're good at it. And stop getting in your head. Like, stop getting in your head. So, of course, it's normal. It's like you think, this is a new situation. I don't know what to expect. I don't know who these people are who are going to be in the room. I don't know what their levels are. I don't know, like, all these kind of things. But as soon as I stepped into the place, all of that went away.
Yeah.
It just went away. Yeah. It was like, I'm here. I'm in my element. And my element can be wherever I want my element to be. But in that space, I was like, I'm here. I'm present. This is good. And the lesson was great.
Yeah. I love that. I love it. Being in your element, it's important. You don't have to be anyone you don't want to be or think you need to be.
It's like you said with the blinders. It's like you chose to put blinders on because that whole comparison thing that we have.
And man, I can get wrapped up in comparison and I can go to ego if I'm not careful. So my remedy is just don't give my opportunity myself the opportunity to go there, put the blinders on. But honestly, sometimes you have to take the blinders off. Like,
Yes.
I've had to talk about a lot of the shady shit that goes on in the online business world because people have been burned. They're scared to invest with us because they've been burned by other people.
Yeah.
And I get it. So there's times I have to take the blinders off to address what my audience needs to hear to feel safe, but then I put them back on.
Right. Creating safe spaces. Yes.
Yeah.
Completely get that. So I can't believe time always, we could talk for hours and hours. So let's get to the second question, which you shared some, but we're going to kind of like put this together. You shared some of this already, but for you, how do you feel like, how can you add to how you incorporate more creativity into your own life?
So I have a practice called coffee and doodles, which is super fun. 5 minutes, I pick up a pen, I go to a blank piece of paper, and as I have coffee, I just let the pen move around, and then who cares? Sometimes I paint over it. Sometimes I see, oh, that's a dog, and I turn it into something. I have a friend that calls this sacred scribbles,
which is super
fun.
Yeah.
So that's one. I've also been playing with the idea for my own creative practice. I actually just wrote about this in my journal is, Wednesday afternoons, I am tired. Like, it's just it's my body's rhythm. What if starting in the new year, when I do my calendar check-in, like I only work till noon on Wednesdays, and then noon to 3 was like studio time. Right. So I'm really looking at, just as I am able to do all the things that I love to do when I get it on my calendar, why is my creativity and studio time block not on my calendar? Yeah. I think it's a simple thing to solve.
Yes.
For me, it's a simple thing because I do what's ever on my calendar. I honor my calendar. Some people I know, they can schedule all this stuff and then look at their calendar and be like, I'm not doing any of this shit. I don't have that problem. So for me, an easy fix for more creativity time is put it on my calendar. I've also started looking at getting out of my house and out back into the community and taking some art classes. They don't need to be full-blown things, but like there's a sketching class I'm interested in. There's she does expressive arts in the parks, and she's going to be doing it in Central Park through November and December. So I've contacted her. But I really want to be with community. I think creating art with community is an important part of my process. And I'm missing that. And I've never actually had it. I mean, the last time I created art in community was 5th grade when I had the horrible experience, right? So it's like, I'm ready to kind of be reintroduced that. There's some teachers that I've been following on Instagram that I am thinking that I'd go to a retreat and meet people and be able to be taken care of. Like, I love hosting retreats, but I also need to be at retreats for myself. And I don't necessarily need a business retreat. So creativity feels like it's the right way to go for me.
All of those. Oh my gosh. First of all, the doodling. Yes, that is such an easy way to incorporate it back into your life. I have a workshop called The Power of the Doodle, and it just really is. Everybody, there's a world beyond the vertical and the horizontal line. Yeah. There is so much, and just kind of freeing your brain. Everything that you said is, again, this is you, because you mentioned at the beginning about community, and we are who we are, and it bleeds through us in all of these ways. And all of these, like, if you allow yourself to explore, if you allow yourself to express yourself authentically, then you expand.
Yeah. And I think to tie the business, in this case, I'll call it business tithing. That's what I call my practice of taking a certain percent of my revenue and giving it to organization. I have been looking at local organizations for arts to really, I can just write a check, but for me, it's about building a relationship, doing some volunteering, getting to on the board. Like there's something there for me about giving in 2024, my business tithing back into community centers for arts or theater or something. So I'm exploring that option, but I want to have the option to also have it local so I can be grassroots, hands on the ground, knowing the people.
Yes.
And it's a little overwhelming to do those searches. And, there's a lot that goes into the search. So I'm hoping I have some clarity on that by January. That would be nice.
I mean, I keep using the word beautiful, but it really is. And everybody to understand this whole concept of giving back. Remember, in giving back, this business tithing, who do you want to support? Who do you want to be connected to? Because we could just give and say, okay, here, yeah, have fun, good luck. But again, being a heart-centered individual.
Yeah.
This is doing this in a different way. So, and also please tell people a little bit more about your book. Because you're a writer. You're an author.
Yeah. So I published a book in April called Practical Joy, Simple Tools to Cultivate More Joy Every Day. And I say that joy is my legacy work, right? Joy is what's going to live beyond me, beyond the marketing, behind the messaging. It's the work of did every space I show up in, including this podcast recording, are people leaving more joyful than when they started the podcast, right? Mm-hmm. So this book is about my own journey through joy. A lot of those lessons that are in the book, and it's a beautiful full color book. It's a workbook and a color book and a journaling. Like I really needed a book that was called Practical Joy to be joyful when people picked it up. Like that was so intentional for me. Mm-hmm. But it's through my journeys of deep grief that I found practices that brought me joy, even during the grief, right? So this isn't about spiritual bypassing all the things to get to joy. This is about tried and true, how did I find joy when my spouse transitioned from my husband to my wife? Like that was a rough few years and I had to do a deep dive. How did I find joy after my mother had a stroke and now has probably Alzheimer's? Like we're dealing with that as a family, right? How do I find joy when my business is like totally in the dumps and I don't know what my purpose is? So it's a beautiful book of practices that are practical to really help people re-spark or find their joy again.
And it's a hands-on. It's like you said, going back to the classroom. It's hands-on. They're not just reading. They're not just listening to the stories. They are diving in. They are part of this. Mm-hmm. And they are finding out more about themselves truly through these hands-on interactive experiences while with your guidance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Incredibly powerful. So as we're getting to the top of the hour, the third and final question, which kind of wraps it up and puts a nice little bow on it, is why do you think creativity is important?
For myself, it gives my brain a rest. Mm-hmm. I'm a thinker. I'm a strategist. I'm an analyzer. I can see when you tell me, Hollis, what your vision is, I can put the whole thing together for you in about 20 minutes flat. And creativity for me allows me to not use that side of my brain and just let the color get on the page. Like, I think this is why I so much don't want to be tied to a product. And I just like the process because I can get lost in making circles for hours, like seriously, or doodling. Like, it doesn't matter. it allows my brain to relax. I think that's my best answer.
That is, I completely hear you on that. And then on the other end, when you said you're a thinker and a strategist, I will also tell people that is a creative aspect too, because you're problem solving.
Yes.
And you're problem solving and you're creating. So there's kind of that duality of the freedom of the flow and the just kind of going with it and seeing what happens and the exploration. But then the other side, which is the problem solving and the organizing and the all of that takes a creative brain as well, in my mind.
Absolutely.
And I think that's freeing for people to understand that, because a lot of people just think, well, so much in what we've talked about, well, I'm just doing my job. It's like, but not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Like if you're good at sales, you're a good listener.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're good
at hearing what's not said.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're reading in between the lines.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able to put that all together. You're able to look at body language. You're able to, something that I didn't even really know. When my son was going up to knock doors for a roofing company, he was like, you don't put your hands in your pocket. People don't trust people with their hands in their pocket.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Like it's like, what are you hiding?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. We could talk for 5 minutes on this.
There is so much, everybody, that we just covered in this a little bit less than an hour. It's insane. Oh my gosh. So to continue the conversation, everybody, you need to meet Shannon. Shannon, how can people connect with you?
Oh, you can find me at joyfulbusinessrevolution.com. If you're interested in the marketing and the messaging aspect of business, that's the best place. If you want to check out the book, I've got a fun joy scavenger hunt for you over at practicaljoybook.com. You can look at behind the scenes stuff of the book, how I created the book. Like I dived into some videos talking about my creative process throughout the journey. It's a beautiful, beautiful, joyful website to spend some time on.
So before we close out, is there anything top of mind, anything you feel like you forgot that you want to add before we say goodbye?
I just want everyone to know joy is an inside job. Joy is a practice. It doesn't come naturally. And just like yoga, meditation, anything that's a practice, you need to practice it. If you actually want it.
Shannon, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this hour and sharing all of your beauty, all of your insight, for sharing you. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
I believe these conversations have always been important, but now I think that they are more important than ever. Please like, follow, share, spread the goodness, because people really need to hear these messages in order to be able to see themselves in them, in order to be able to hear these people's stories, in order to be able to expand their thinking. It is so important to really understand that creativity is life, and everybody has creativity within them. To find out more about what we offer, go to iamcreativephilly.com. And you will see that there are services from publishing, multi-author and solo books, kits, workshops, and retreats to creativity one-on-one coaching. So if you are ready to unleash your voice, break through your blocks, and confidently share your story, I cannot wait to help you birth your ideas into the world.